Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Damp Show with me, Damp Sam. Today's is going to be a bit different. We're going to talk about something that I saw this week, and it's the first time I've seen it. What it is an MVQ level 2 in wood preserving and damp proofing. And I'll give a bit of background on how I came to see this qualification, which was I was working on a job in Barnsley doing a bit of damp work. We were working downstairs and we were doing drilling, injecting, and insulating all walls, and then skimming it. And it was quite a big job. So we were going to be there all week, and the landlord of the property had arranged for a plasterer to insulate and skim the ceiling upstairs, and it were all from a report that I'd done on this property. We had some damp issues. It's a long story. I first went to property, must be 10, 12 years ago, wrote a report. The guy that did that got me involved was the landlord's maintenance guy. Landlord had loads and loads of properties, and basically this guy who were doing this work, called him Trevor. He was doing work himself. He was getting me to do reports, getting me to do some bits that he couldn't do, and then he was doing him himself, fitting cheap fans. He was doing damp work. His handiwork were there to see. I think he might have even done some drilling and injecting, but he'd just dry lined, stuck plasterboards on top wall. We drywall adhesive and then wallpapered of it. We'd not even skimped boards, just wallpaper straight off it boards, so they were wet through. And house, it had loads of problems, this house anyway. So one of the things was to board and skim this ceiling in bedroom, because on one of the parts it weren't insulated, and loft above were all sealed up, so we couldn't get in. I've not put my video on, so yeah. I don't know whether to start again. No, I'm not. I'm not going to start again. But I've not put bottom one on. So this plasterer that we're doing at ceiling, he come lovely bloke. He was really chatty. We had a talk about different things, and he said to me, "I've got an assessor coming this afternoon, and he's going to do for me to be get me qualifications in damp proofing." So straight away, my ears pricked up, and I says, "What qualifications are these?" And he was trying to explain to me, and he says it's an MVQ, and I can get me my CSCS card. And I says, "What company is it?" And it told me DMR. Hang on. Yeah, DMR. It's wrote there. So he says it's DMR. They're from Manchester, and it's all on site thingy. And so then I'm like, right, well, what is it? I'm wanting to know a bit more, because I only knew that there were PCA that were leading body that were doing qualifications. After I've looked into it, I've it's a lot of stuff's come to light. So this qualification started in 2018, and what it was, I think it must be about 8 years ago. I decided to get an on-site CSCS card for in case we had to go on some of these bigger sites to do any work or to do any reports. And what I found were there weren't a CSCS card that was specifically designed for what we did, preservation industry. There weren't a card, so I had to get the I think it were called management and professional card, and it were a black card that I had to go and get an MVQ, just so I'd got one in case I had to go on site. And the last 5 years, and amount of times I went on site, none. So I paid for all for tests and exams or whatever they call them, and it never got used. But it were good because I had to learn a lot of health and safety and stuff like that to actually get my card. Failed it first time. I didn't pass first time, and then I went and did it again. And there's an app you can get, and you can sort of learn from this app, which I found quite really handy. And I think that were done back with I wanted to say CITB. It might have been CITB. So this app were brilliant, and then the second time I went, I knew what to expect, and I passed it. Got my card, which I had to pay for, which it's worth its weight in gold for people who have to go on sites, because it shows you've got a level of competence, and that's what it's all about. It's about training, and a lot of it is health and safety. And I've got this site up, and I'm gonna go through it so that you know a bit more information, and I'm not getting stuff wrong. This is a site. It's dmrtraining.co.uk, and the title is NVQ Level 2 Wood Preserving and Damp Proofing. It says DMR Training is an approved assessment centre for NVQ Level 2 Diploma in Insulation and Building Treatments, Wood Preserving and Damp Proofing. We aim to help you gain your NVQ as quickly and as conveniently as possible. Now that's brilliant. So they're wanting more and more people to get this training. About this NVQ, the NVQ Level 2 in Wood Preserving and Damp Proofing course is for experienced workers who meet the recognised occupational standards. The qualification validates your existing skills and experience. And one of the things that when I was talking to Assessor that came on site, one of the things that I said to him, I said, I've got a nephew who's just started, and it'd be ideal for him this qualifications. And he was like, no, he says, you can't. They can't go on. You've got to be a minimum age of 19 to take this, and you've got to have 3 years on-site experience in the relevant trade. So that's like a downside to it. It's one at cons that. So this NVQ is suitable for wood preservation and damp proofing specialists working on either new build sites, commercial or existing buildings, or domestic homes. See entry requirements and assessment process sections for examples of job tasks the assessment process covers. So we'll look at them a bit further on. So it says, we deliver NVQs via the on-site assessment and training, OSAT route. This gives you the flexibility to work towards your NVQ through workspace assessment at your own speed. Now that's good, because there's nobody pressuring you. So some people like to work at their own speed, and I don't like working under pressure. I don't like people saying you've got to do that. I have done, and most of my life, and sometimes there's a pro and a con to that. So it all depends on how you take in your information and how you learn. So some people like to be pushed and have to be pushed, else they'll just not do it. And some people hate to be pushed. So I think they've just gone, right, well, this is what we're going to do. We found majority of people don't like being pushed, else they leave. So you can do it at your own speed. On achieving the wood preserving and damp proofing NVQ Level 2, you will be eligible to apply for your CSCS Skilled Worker Card, the blue card. We deliver the internal installation NVQ through the on-site assessment and training, OSAT route. This allows you to work towards the qualification at your own speed. See entry requirements and assessment process sections for examples of job tasks and the assessment process covers. On completing the internal wall insulation MVQ level 2, you will become eligible for the CSCS Blue Card. So this is the card. This was brought up in 2018, which, if you remember, it was around about COVID. So I think this came out as a result of the new insulation regulations for homes and the white papers that's come out for, homes being fit for habitation and things like that. So I think it's all built up around that. And I think that's why I've never heard of it until today. But there's something ringing a bell. I think I have looked at this, but I've just forgot it being an old cunt. So here we go. Entry requirements. To undertake a wood preserving and damp proofing MVQ, you must meet the following requirements, right? You've got to have a minimum of 3 years experience in the building treatments. So that's a bit of a grey area for me. So, well, I'll just tell you others. Must currently be working as a wood preserver and damp proofer, aged 19 plus. So minimum three years experience in building treatments. Yeah, I don't know whether they really needed to have that, unless that's just one of the... If you've got to have all three, I don't understand why they should have minimum of 3 years experience in building treatments. Just, you could take that out and just have that. Must currently be working as a wood preserver and damp proofer, because that is specifically what this MVQ is. So why put minimum of 3 years experience in building treatments, unless you can have done that. No, because it says you must currently be working as a wood preserver. So I don't understand why that top one's there. I mean, for me, it should say must currently be working towards a wood preserver and damp proofer and have been in the job 3 years. Or that'd be probably better off. But yeah, so maybe I'm picking at straws. To ensure you have sufficient experience to complete the qualification. Yeah, we get that. Your MVQ assessor will carry out a pre-enrollment skills diagnostic. The diagnostic covers much of the criteria on which you will be assessed during the NVQ. A few examples of assessment criteria include... So this is what you've got to... when there's an assessor that you get assigned to once you fill all stuff out, and then he must have like a list where he has to go through questions, what he has to ask, and you've got to try and satisfy these conditions. So you've got it says interpreting and complying with relevant documents such as risk assessments, schedules, and manufacturers' information. So you've got to be able to understand these documents. So I'm wondering if they're going to put a few in front here and say, what does that mean? Maintaining a safe working environment. Yep, so we like that. That's plain and simple. Protecting surrounding area from damage during wood preservation or damp proofing treatment. Another good one. Proper use of personal protective equipment, PPE, and respiratory protective equipment, RPE. Another good one, because you need the contractors understand about putting PPE on, knocking off mask on, gloves, goggles, all that kind of thing. Reporting accidents and emergencies. That's another one, because ordinary contractors, and if it's not your company, are they savvy with what do you do about reporting accidents? And I think this is more for on site, because I can remember when I did this professional management ticket, though a couple of questions were, what do you do if there's an accident on site? Who do you inform? You know what I mean? Do you run off and phone ambulance? Basically, it's a person that you've been assigned to. So if there's somebody in office that's your superior, and you try and find him. If you can't find him, you go to the next one above. Completing work in the allocated time. It's a strange one. That they're giving a certain amount of time to complete a job. I mean, if it's, I don't know. Have they timed damp proofing? Have they timed knocking off a metre of plaster and saying it should be knocked off in that amount of time? I don't know. Drilling and injecting. Are they saying that wall's got to be drilled in a certain amount of time? Some bricks, some mortar courses are harder to drill and inject. Well, harder to drill than others. If it's wet, it's going to be harder. So I'd like to know a bit more about that. Preparing structures for wood preservation and damp proofing, including measures, marking out, cleaning substrates, and erecting temporary barriers and signs. Yeah, another good one. Providing temporary supports to structures. So that might be in basements, propping up if you're doing timber treatments to floors. That'll be sort of putting acros up, stuff like that, supporting floor while you do your job. Applying treatments by brush, spray, irrigation, injection, and or electro-osmosis. Reinstating structures after treatment. Understanding guarantees and warranties. So all good. I think they're all good then. We're on to the assessment process. So we want to know what happens when you get assessed. Preserving and damp proofing. We will assign you an experienced NVQ assessor who will work with you for the duration of the course as you gather work-based evidence. One of the cons, we kind of that this sort of thing, and we found it with our apprentices that go to college, is if there's one person that's going to be assigned, which can be good if they're there for duration, but what tends to happen is holidays, sick, they leave, and there's a lot of disruption when that happens. So so that could be one of the cons with that. But types of evidence can include. So this is what the assessor's wanting when he comes out to site. An on-site observation while you work, carried out by your assessor in your workplace. During the observation, assessor's role, is to gather visual evidence of your competence as a wood preservation damp proofing specialist. Photographs or videos of work you have completed. Reference employer endorsements or witness testimonies verifying your work as a wood preserver and damp proofer. Detailed job logs or work you have completed during your NVQ. A recorded professional discussion with your assessor. The discussion can take place face-to-face or over the telephone. A question and answer pack covering the theory of wood preservation and damp proofing and construction health and safety. So these are all good. These are all brilliant, and I think this is just same as any NVQ. So if it's plastering, joinery, plumbing, this is what they do. They come out. So your guy from college will come out and they take all this evidence and photos and things like that, and your employer signs it and stuff. One of the things that I'd like to know is, what qualifications have the assessor. What has he got? Is he just an assessor that's qualified in interpreting this course and collecting information, or have they got relevant qualifications in damp proofing and timber treatment? So that'd be a question I'd like to put to them, because there's a shortage in our industry, and you'd have thought if somebody's got them qualifications, or if they won't be doing assessors jobs, they'd be earning plenty of money, you know what I mean? Unless they've got loads of money. And yeah, so that'd be one of the questions. Your assessor will cross-reference your evidence against the NVQ units until your portfolio is complete. The final stages involves our internal verification team checking your portfolio and claiming your NVQ certificates with city and guilds. So the time scale. So this is a point. Although it can take up to 6 months or more to achieve a level 2 NVQ, we find that most candidates complete the qualification in 2 to 3 months. That'd be a bit worrying for me. Ultimately, the qualification will fit round your professional and personal commitments. Work towards it at a speed you feel comfortable. That's good. Costs and funding. We currently have access to low carbon NVQ funding for building treatment operatives in Greater Manchester, Lancashire, and the Sheffield City region. I think Barnsley comes under that, so it might be some cash coming our way. Please contact us so we can check your eligibility for funding. In fact, the guy that we're doing plastering upstairs, we're from Goldthorpe, so that's like Barnsley area. Well, it's 3 in it, Barnsley, Donny and Rotherham area, that. Please contact us to discuss funding costs. So that's good that you can get some money off and some funding. So CSCS card. On completion of your wood preserving and damp proofing NVQ course, you can apply for your skilled worker card, blue collar card. If you require a CSCS card while you are working towards your NVQ card, you can apply for a temporary experienced worker card, a red card. Again, good if you've got to work on sites that require that you have one of these cards. All CSCS card applicants must first pass the CITB Health and Safety and Environmental Test, HS and E test. That's good. So it's giving everybody a level of competence. That's easy for me to say with these teeth in. Progression. After achieving level 2, and depending on your experience, you may have the option to advance to NVQ level 3 in a similar occupational area. NVQ level 3 in occupational work supervision, construction, or NVQ level 4 in construction site supervision. So that's good. That's good that you can go on and get another qualification. So if you're working for a big company, they might put you through to that, and you might get some supervision. But I'd be saying if you get this qualification, then start looking towards PCA and looking at surveyors, qualifications, waterproofing, things like that. So this will probably it'll whet your appetite and get you into our preservation industry. Well, you're probably already in if you're doing this. Getting started. When you decide to proceed with your NVQ, we will carry out a quick skills diagnostic to confirm your suitability for the qualification and on-site assessment role and the on-site assessment route. We will then enroll you on the qualification with City and Guilds and issue your welcome email. Your assessor will contact you for your introductory telephone conversation and put together your assessment action plan. For initial commitment-free consultation. Please contact us on telephone number and send us your details and we'll get back to you. So these are requirements. Mandatory units. Candidates must complete the 4 mandatory units. There's a few here, so I'll just tell you. These are in order. Conforming to general health and safety and welfare in the workplace. That's one. Conforming to productive working practices in the place. Moving, handling and storing resources in the workplace. Preparing structures for treatment in the workplace. Applying preservation treatment in the workplace. Reinstating the structure after building treatments in the workplace. Installation and building treatments, building construction defects and interfaces. I'm not really sure what that last one is. Only thing I can think is it's a kind of a diagnostic thing, so looking at damp issues and identifying them. So then there's additional units you can do. Candidates can elect to take additional units, but they do not form part of the core qualification. Erecting and dismantling access working platforms in the workplace. Developing customer relationships. I'd say if you're going to take that, and these other 2 are free, definitely take these other 2 because you're learning stuff. When I first started plastering and we're rendering and stuff, if you got a scaffold from hire place, they just dropped it off. There were no instructions, and I'd never put one up, and it was just guessing. So whether you got them right. Now I think they come with a bit of instructions, but if you can go on this course before you get to that stage, definitely do it. Developing customer relationships. That'll be another good one. I never had any training. You just turned up, and basically were just nice. So it's just what your mum and dad's learnt you. If you're ignorant, then you're not going to build up that relationship. So 2 good additional units there. I'd be happy with doing both of them. So a lot of other stuff is, it's what's on every NVQ, apart from these last. All last ones are as well. So they've just put applying preservation treatments in the workplace. So if it were joinery, it'd be installing timber doors or whatever in the workplace, or if it were plastering, applying plaster in the workplace. Reinstating the structure after building treatment, so building stuff back up. So they've just altered it for what title the job it is. I think it's it's same structure of course, but obviously they've put insulation, building treatments, and damp proofing treatments and timber treatments. Yeah, got that right. Yeah, and then on this thing for DMR, there's a little thing to fill in with your email, name, email, phone number, location, and a message. So it says apply now. When you decide to proceed with your MVQ, we will carry out a quick skills diagnostic to confirm your suitability for the qualification on the on-site assessment route. When we enrol you on the qualifications with City and Guilds and issue your welcome email, your assessor will contact you for an introductory telephone conversation and put together your assessment action plan. For an initial commitment-free consultation, please call us on or send us your details and we will get back to you. Frequently asked questions. What are the benefits of gaining a wood preserving and damp proofing NVQ level 2? There are several reasons you might take an NVQ, ranging from increased earning potential, career prospects, to gaining your CSCS card, CR short guide. Why should you do an NVQ? So investing in yourself, getting a foot on preservation ladder. Although if you've been doing it 3 years, you've probably already started. But one of the things that I bang on about all the time is we want more people in our industry that's going to be qualified. Our industry's got a bad rap for misdiagnosis. And I suppose one of the things on here, what my concern is they're saying if you've been doing it 3 years, you're eligible, and it doesn't seem as if there's any training diagnosing dampness. There might be. I'd have to duck course to really comment, but if they've been doing it for 3 years and they've been doing it wrong for 3 years, then if your assessor is not qualified in damp issues, or if he's not competent and qualified specifically in damp timber treatments and insulation, then he's not going to know whether you're installing stuff right or wrong. He'll know all about your health and safety and all that kind of thing, but is he going to know different types of dampness? Is he going to know how you treat different types of dampness, bridging, penetrating damp, rising damp? All these different types of dampness, sulfate salts, have all got different diagnostics, different treatments, different systems to install to make sure that they're right and that they're put back right. So if guy's been doing it wrong, and if the assessor does not see these issues, he might see its system being put in right. So if he acts it off a metre high all the way around a room, your assessor turns up on site, it's act off, puts his damp proof system on, whichever one he's going to use, whether it's membrane or if it's sand and cement render with an additive, or a lightweight render, limelight, render light with SBR in it, or if it's just going to be express damp proofing system that he puts on, and he puts it on and it's spot on, but yet he's drilled and injected a damp proof course. It's a 1950s house, it's already got a damp proof course in, that's not wrong with it. There's a lack of adequate ventilation, and that what issue, but they've ended up hacking all this plaster off when it shouldn't have been hacked off. 6 months later, they're still getting condensation on this on wall, especially if they've put sand and cement on because it's cold thermal bridging or whatever, and they're still getting issues. So is an assessor going to spot that? So that has been one of my cons. But overall, for getting people onto the ladder of preservation industry, I'd be kind of, I think this is a good, seems a good course. Who will assess my NVQ? Before starting your qualifications, an assessor will be assigned to work with you, provide ongoing support. DMR assessors are former construction workers with at least 5 years experience in NVQ assessment. So this is what I'm saying. So that guy that came on site where I was seemed a lovely bloke. Didn't look like a damp proofer or a plasterer. Could have been a plasterer. Didn't look type. About my age, thinner. It says former construction work with 5 years experience in NVQ assessment. So he knows the NVQ assessment system and what they need, which is health and safety and things like that. They don't know about different types of damp and different types of wood fungi, dry rot. They know how to assess an NVQ. They hold an A1 or TAQA assessor's qualification, a minimum of NVQ level 2 in their occupational area, and a blue or gold CSCS card. So that is one of my things that I probably need to get a bit more information on. So I'm not going to diss it. I'd need a bit more information on that. But just from my point of view, I think that these aren't going to be damp surveyors that's doing this. That's the old sort of my qualification. That's assessing this, or guys like what they've got at PCA. I think these are just people that's worked in construction. So that'd be one of the things that I probably won't like, because they're not going to see whether these are installing these systems correctly or not for that type of damp. They probably might install system correctly, but is it correct for that for type of damp that it is? What we tend to see is a lot of plasterers that's gone in and been doing damp proofing for Mrs. Miggins and stuff, you know what I mean? Every now and again, they might do a little bit in between the plastering, which is how I started. They're just doing it how they've been shown. So they see a bit of damp, it's knock off a meter or 1.2, drill and inject it, put a damp proofing system, replastering system on. Even though that might not be issue, they do everything as if it's rising damp, and everything's treated as if it's rising damp. Even when they put the write the quote on a piece of paper, it'll say rising damp, and it these days it's very rare that all your property has got rising damp. Very rare, because one, a lot of properties have already had a damp course. If they're built after 1919, more than likely they'll have a damp course. In some hand, but over years they've probably had a retrofit one put in, and even though it might break down in areas, it's not going to break down all the way around, unless it's like 50 years old and it's silicon. But you're still going to get, where your chimneys are, that's going to be a different type of damp. If there's any bridging areas, that's going to be a different type of damp. So I'm always skeptical when I see a report that says rising damp all the way through, and I do see them all the time. I've had two in last week, rising damp, and one of the worrying things is these are damp reports for people who are buying properties, and they're sending me these reports. And if you're watching this, you know what I mean, you've only yourself to blame when it goes tits up in future. But people are sending me reports asking, how much we charge for a damp and timber report, and I send them, and the shit they send, and they go, oh, we're not paying that much. But they'll have sent me the report, and I'll have a look at it, and I'll go, that don't look right. They've said this, they've said that, and these are national companies that's saying it. But the national companies with big reputations, but the surveyors that they've got are not the best. They're not the best surveyors, else they'd have their own companies. Some of them are good, a lot of them are not. On commission as well, which makes it even worse. And I'm getting these, and I'm looking at them. I had one other day, just a small wall. It was from a national company that sounds a bit like wood, and they sent me it through, and I had a look at it. And there were 3 patches on this wall. Original photo that were took, and it was a small wall. It's 3 meters along, and there were 3 patches on this wall on photo she sent me. But on the surveyor's picture, there was 1 patch at bottom, just above skirting board, and it were about that big. And when she sent me a thing through, there were a patch there, and then there were 2 patches either side with walls abut to it, and it were an external wall. And this company that sounds a bit like wood, it sounds a bit like educated, wizened wood, if you know what I mean. their surveyor had said it had rising damp, it needed knocking off. The external wall needed knocking off up to 1.2 meters. A new damp course, drilling and injecting, and then a replastering system put in. I asked our old house, it was 1950s, so this house has got a damp proof course in it. There's no rising damp. So I asked the woman, I says, "What? This is all from a photo." And I asked the woman, I says, "Is it a timber or a solid floor?" And she said, "It's a timber floor." I says, "Can you send me a picture outside?" I says, "I suspect that there might be an air brick there." She sent me, this is before seeing it, she sent me a picture. Fair enough, air brick there. So it's just basically what a cold spot. Now, one thing they had got right, they'd said that she needed ventilation upgrading in a bathroom or a kit. Well, I don't think they mentioned kitchen now already, just in bathroom. So I had an idea there was some inadequate ventilation. But I said to her, she says, "Well, what do we do now?" And I says, "Well, we'd have to come and survey it ourselves. I don't trust their survey, so I'd have to come and survey it myself. Tell her how much it was." Never heard a thing after that, flatlined me, didn't she? So I've not heard another thing, and we get that a lot. So people don't want to pay to have another survey. I've told them what it is. I said to him, I says, "Look," he says, "you might as well go with them if you're not going to have a survey. Let them sort of do what they want." So I don't know what she's going to do. Whether she's going to go to this wizened wood or whatever they call them, so and let them do it. They've got a minimum rate, which is a lot less than my minimum rate, 300 and I think they said 375 plus VAT for a minimum bit of work. But yeah, so just a story from that. Where will my NVQ take place, and what will I need to do? An NVQ is a workplace competency qualification. As a competent building treatments operative, you will be expected to document your skills and experience through various types of evidence. Your assessor will carry out at least one observation in your workplace. You will also complete coursework in your own time. To achieve your qualification, you will not need to travel. There are no exams to sit, and you will not need to take time off work. Your assessor will provide support and guidance face-to-face by phone and email. I don't know where I stand with that with exams. I know some people are not good at exams, but I do think that they should have some types of test. Don't call it an exam, call it a test. Maybe have one for each section, just so that that you know that they know what they're doing. I think people. This is a tried and tested NVQ, and people, they pass it. But I still think they need some kind of test just to see whether people are retaining this information and can recall it. I know some people can't retain information, so maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe it's unfair that people are not getting through. So yeah, that'd be one of the things that I'd probably change. But again, like I said, I don't know ins and outs. How they've come to this, decide not to do any exams or tests or like that. But yeah, it sounds like they wanted to get more people through. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Once you're in, thinking about it, obviously, if you get stuff wrong, I don't know. No, I mean, you have to do a test for this CSCS card. So why don't you have to do a test for this qualification, which is probably more important than CSCS card, in my eyes, because this is we here for life. Your CSCS card's 5 years. I think they should have at least some testing. But I ain't made it up, so I ain't made this course up. Grant and funding available. So CITB registers employees can claim A grant of £600 for every employee or contractor who completes the NVQ level 2 to 7. You can find out more information at the CITB website. Government NVQ funding is available for construction workers who meet the specific criteria. Please get in touch with us to find out if you're eligible for funding. How long will it take to get my certificate after I've finished my NVQ? When you've completed your NVQ portfolio, our internal verification team will check it for compliance. They will then claim your certificate with City and Guilds. Once we have received your certificate from the awarding body, we will forward it to you by recorded delivery. This process usually takes between 2 and 4 weeks, so you get it fairly quickly. How do I apply for a building treatment CSCS card? To get your CSCS skilled workers card, you will need to pass the CITB Health and Safety Environment test at your local test centre, which ours is, I think it's Donny, unless they've opened another one up. We're on Silver Street. You can apply for your card by visiting www.cscs.uk.com/applying space cards. I'm saying space, it's a dash. It's a dash and it's in the middle. You will need to upload a copy of your NVQ certificate and have a direct debit and credit card ready to pay the £36 pound fee. Can I get a temporary CSCS card while I do my NVQ? Yes, if you need a CSCS card while you're doing your qualifications, you can apply for the experienced worker card. You can request this card as soon as you have enrolled. As soon as we have enrolled you on the NVQ, you will need to pass the CITB Health and Safety Environmental test. To apply for your temporary card, we will email you proof of enrolment, which you must submit to the CSCS. You will then upgrade to skilled worker card once you have finished the qualification. How do I apply to start my wood preserving and damp proofing NVQ or find out more information? So you can get in touch through DMR. So that's bottom, and I've gone through it as I've been going along. So my summing up is this: I think it's a great idea that City and Guilds has got involved. I just wish City and Guilds had partnered with PCA, or I wish they'd speak with PCA and maybe look at getting some people from PCA, some surveyors, some qualified technicians and things like that that's experienced, to maybe go over and be an assessor. Although I don't know how much they pay, so they'd have to get a wheelbarrow out for some cash to get me over there. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant that we can get more people into the preservation industry. And reason why I've not heard of this, like I said, in 2018, this is when this course evolved, and it's because of these white papers and the insulation targets that the government's got for 2035. There's one at 2025, there's one at 2035, and there'll be insulation being fitted to outsides of building, retrofitted inside, and ventilation and stuff like that. So our industry is going to need a hell of a lot of people to work in it to get all these 25 million properties and more that's being built each year up to standard. There's the what do they call them now? EPC certificates. So EPC certificates have got to be a certain level to be able to be remortgaged soon. And then obviously your new builds have got to be a certain, I think it's D. From what I was reading, it's got to be a minimum of a D. So there's a lot of properties going to have to be upgraded. And one of the ways to upgrade them is going to be putting insulated boards on inside, which is like the job that I did on last week. But I think there's going to have to be a bit more guidance with these ECP surveyors to tell us what we need to do, what thickness boards, what type of boards has got to be used on these solid walls. I mean, there's lights that can be changed to low voltage, and there's a load of other stuff you can do. But one of the main things is going to be insulating these walls. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you need if you need any surveys done, get in touch with me at Simon at alldrydampproofing.com or Simon at dampandtimbersurvey.com, and we'll see if we can help you. And if you're in Barnsley area and you're desperate for damp work doing, and you want it doing by a professional and somebody that's mega qualified, then get in touch again. Because there's people out there that don't want just somebody who's bog standard. They want somebody who can do the job and who knows what they're doing inside out. So we'll always look, but it does come at a price. I'm not cheapest. So there you go. So get in touch. So that's Damp Sam. Hoping that you have a brilliant rest of your day, and we'll see you next week on next one. See you later. And remember, not all damp is rising. There you go. See ya.